Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Compelling Conversations podcast. This episode has been in the oven for well over a year. I remember sitting in a cafe talking about it, and now we're finally here. So, Omar, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's been a minute since we've been trying to put this together, but I'm glad you're here, and I love this San Francisco background. Have you ever been to San Francisco yourself?
I have not, but I'm possibly going, possibly in like mid-April.
Wow, that sounds nice. Yeah. Inshallah,
Oh,
yeah, San Francisco, man. Like I was talking to my friend Muhammad Rafat yesterday, and I just found out that he was Californian. I had no idea. I was like, man,
Bay Area, I think
California.
he was from.
What'd you say?
I think he went to Bay Area, or he grew up in Bay Area.
Yeah, Sacramento.
Oh,
But I don't know if that,
Sacramento.
yeah, I don't know if that's considered Bay Area. But yeah, I was telling him like, man, California is like America's promised land. Just feels very golden out there, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Have you ever been to California in general?
Yeah, I've been to San Diego like 3 times, and I've been to LA, I want to say twice, but I'm pretty sure it's been 3 times.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been to those places too. It feels really nice, you know? It's like, wow. Like it was the first time I remember that like here in Houston, when it's sunny, it's hot. But I remember going to California, I'm like, hey, the sun is out, but I'm not sweating. Like the breeze is here. It feels very nice.
Yeah, I think the issue with me is like twice I went. So the first time I went to California was like twice. I went to San Fran, or not San Fran, San Diego, and we went during like spring break. So there was just always a breeze. So it was always light jacket weather. So I was like, yeah, it's pretty nice. This isn't too shabby.
Yeah, yeah. What do you think about the weather out here? Do you think it has an effect on you?
No,
No.
I really enjoyed like Houston. Like I personally for me, like the rain, I enjoy a lot, and we always get sporadic rain. Like we probably get rain at least once a day, but it's enjoyable. I don't think it's like Seattle. Like Seattle, you just get like rain pounded on you for weeks at a time.
And I
Like a
love
bunch of people
Seattle.
say there's like a I think it was a Stanford study or a Harvard study that looked into people who moved to Seattle and saw that they actually got SAD, which is like seasonal affective disorder. Like the season actually made them like go into like a mental state where they were just like groggy every day when they woke up. But I don't ever feel that in Houston. I think it's because when it rains here, it's not cloudy. It's like it's raining, but it's still a little sun coming through the clouds.
That's a really good point. When I went to Seattle, we experienced mostly rain, and there was one day of sun, and you felt the difference. It's, wow, the sun has arrived. It felt like I experienced two different cities, and it was because of the weather. And I remember like the rest of Washington State, I also explored, alhamdulillah, but as much as I love that place, everything outside of Seattle felt very depressing, very gray, very cloudy. So it's interesting how the weather can affect that in a way.
Yeah, I think that like it plays a role. I mean, like, did you go to Park Place? Is that what it's called? Is that like the
Park
main thing?
Place.
Park Place? Is that what it's called?
What is that? Park Place.
I think it's like the Central Market. Maybe it's like called something else.
Oh, yes, yes, the public market. Yeah, yeah.
Public
I know what you're
Market.
talking about. Yes,
That's probably
yes,
the name of it.
yeah.
Did you go there the rainy days?
I did actually. I did.
And
That that
were
was
there
actually not
people
bad.
there?
Yeah, here and there. But I really liked that because it felt I don't know, that felt like Seattle. That felt like this is Seattle life. Like, yeah, it's kind of rainy, but people are out and about. It's the market. They're getting their coffee. They're driving around or walking around. So that was really
Yeah,
cool. That was actually a place like there's a Palestinian restaurant like right by there, run by these Bosnian people. It was really cool.
that's pretty cool. Yeah, because like in Houston, if it's like more than like 50% rain or something, people will not leave their house. I feel,
Yeah.
but anything below that, we're on the move. It doesn't matter. Like Houston
Yes.
traffic doesn't stop for anybody.
Yeah, that's true. And it's interesting that we're talking about the rain because um I think at first in Seattle I was hoping for sun. I knew it was gonna rain, but I was hoping for sun. But then I reminded myself, like it's the rain that carries the blessings of God with it. And I
Yeah,
was like, yeah, that's a very beautiful thing. Because rain, it's this thing where so many people they get upset, like, oh man, it's raining, it's ruined my day. But ever since I learned that, no, like the rain, it has barakah, like it carries the blessings of God with it.
nourishes.
It totally changed my perspective. Like, oh, the rain is actually not all that bad. I enjoy it when it comes.
Yeah, my friend, he makes these funny lecture videos for us, which is like every couple days, like he'll like send a video or something. And so it was one of the days last week or the week before where it was raining a lot, and he was like, "You see that outside? It's raining. But why? What do we need rain for?" He's like, He's like, everybody knows H2O, rises up through the rivers and the sun, and then the clouds get too heavy and it drops down and it creates rain. If we didn't have rain, what happens? Everything would die. Everything dies. We're gonna die because we need nourishment. So it was like,
Yes.
can't get mad at the rain. The rain is awesome. It's a
Yeah,
free
I was
moisturizer. Walk outside and moisturize your skin.
yes, very much so. And this is reminding me of something that I was talking to somebody about yesterday, where he said to me, it would be wrong of me to just always be sad and depressed about the tragic things in life. But at the same time, it would be wrong of me to always be happy about the sunny days. It's like you have to hold on to both of them. He said, oftentimes the beautiful and broken things are next to each other. And I thought
Right.
that was pretty endearing.
Yeah, I think like speaking on that, I think like a lot of days people want to self-label their problems. And when they self-label their problems, it's kind of like, oh, I'm not doing good because of this, or I'm not doing good because of that. I think it's like more along the like it's like um it's like a snowflake kind of mentality. I know snowflake is like something like people like use to call other people and this or that, but it's like it
Yes,
kind of is because it's like you can't continue to blame something that truly isn't like the core reason. Like, ah, man, I'm sorry. Like last night, I was just so depressed or whatever. I couldn't get myself to do this group project that we're part of. Like, no, dude. Like, if you are really in that mental state or whatever, just text someone to do it for you or for help or call someone for help. It's hard. It's really hard to call someone, but it's like you gotta like I think a lot of times get out of your shell and be like the work needs to get done, you know like I think everybody hates doing the boring work, but it's the people who love doing the boring work that are like, I hate doing this, but I know the work needs to be done, so I'm gonna do it. Those are the people who are always successful. It's like Elon Musk definitely didn't want to sit there and code for something or look at how a body panel fits on his Tesla or look at the aerodynamics of the space of the what's it called the spaceship he's making. But you got to do the boring work so then you can launch into space. Otherwise, you're just going to tip over and die. I,
wow.
I don't know how I got on this tangent, but
No, I really love this. I love what you're saying. How did you come to this realization? You have to do the boring work, even if you're not feeling
so I think I've always had this mentality of you just got to do the work no matter what. I think it's just like a strong immigrant mindset, which is like, it doesn't matter how I'm feeling, the work has to get done. Like my homework needs to be done. I always thought it was like disrespectful to show up to school and not have your homework done. I always thought it was like, why? Like you had all this time, you could have just knocked it out really quickly. Why would you not do it? It's kind of just like you genuinely don't care. And I think like at least like in the education system, like let's say high school or junior high, you should care in some capacity. I mean, I think it's not that important of where you went to high school or what you did in high school, but I think what it matters is your mindset. And it's like I always put my best self forward. I always did my homework. I always did this, that, the other. And then I I think I always did it, but I didn't have a way to explain it or label it. And then I don't know if you've ever heard of this guy, Alex Hormozy. Alex Hormozy is freaking dope, like really cool businessman, entrepreneur that I've been following for years now, a couple years now. And he kind of so he's a writer, like like he studied English in college. He wrote a lot of stuff. So, but he's also an entrepreneur who's done like I think he's at almost a billion. Maybe he's already passed $1 billion. He launched this cool thing called the Gym Start, where basically it was like, you ever seen those promos on Instagram or Facebook where it's like, hey, we're opening up a new gym. We're taking on the first 30 clients for free. If you don't lose 30 pounds, you get all your money back.
Yeah.
He coined that. He started that, and he like licensed it to other gyms to do it. And that way you're at a full capacity or 70% capacity in your gym before you even open. So then you already have cash flows coming in, money's coming into the gym. And so I always thought that was super interesting. And so he makes these like kind of every time he's on a podcast, it's just like so insightful. Like he's just talking like dude's talking like he's Shakespeare. And I'm listening in and I'm like, this is kind of interesting, you know, like he's actually kind of he's got something like he's not a scammer. Like, he's got something going. Because he's like, I don't know what y'all are talking about. Like, I'm just being honest. Like you have to, and he always talks about the boring work. Um, and he's always like, look, the boring work has to be done regardless. You need to do the boring work. And if you can't do the boring work, you better hire someone to do the boring work and trust that they're going to do it the proper way. Um, and he has like this famous quote. Let me find it for you.
Yeah, that's very interesting what you're sharing.
He says, you don't become confident by shouting affirmations in a mirror, but by having a stack of undeniable proof that you are who you say you are. Outwork your self doubt. So I think that's like extremely, like, that's like, I think coincides with the boring work, which is like, ah, man, like I'm not good at calculus, or I'm not good at this, or I'm not good at that. Like, it's like self doubt. Like, I don't think I'm going to be shaped up to do this. He's like, no, you don't become confident by shouting affirmations in the mirror. Like many Instagram influencers tell you, like, go in the mirror and say, I love myself. I am smart. I can do this. Like, no, it's like, but by having a stack of undeniable proof that you are who you say you are, you know, you've put in all this work into the boring work or the work that's grueling or something you can't do as good.
Yes,
And
and I love how you're saying this because it's about beginning. You won't get that stack of evidence unless you begin. And no one is like fully loaded, ready at the beginning, right? It takes time to build yourself up, but you have to begin at some point, and then eventually it stacks up.
I mean, I think so. Kind of to take a back step, like just to give like a little bit of like understanding. It's like I'm a finance and entrepreneurship student at U of H. So
Wolf Center.
yeah, I'm in the Wolf Center for Entrepreneurship. Apparently, it's the number one entrepreneurship program in the nation. But we get these guest speakers all the time in our classes for entrepreneurship, and it's people who've done work. And I always find it fascinating with their mindset, which is like, they're like, how did you get to where you are? What's the pivotal step? And they're always like, I quit. I was like, look, I'm done doing this job. I've wanted to do this for a while. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to fail 100%. But we have like a phrase that we use in Wolf, which is build, measure, modify. You build the business or you build what you want to do, measure it. So you go out in the market and you test it, see if people will buy it, people like it, what's wrong with it, What do they like? Modify. You modify it. What take those suggestions and change your product up just a little bit or your service, and then try it one more time. Measure it, then modify it, then measure it, modify it. Until you have something that's so good that you have such a great offer that no one would refuse to not take it up. I put that together like kind of like those shirts on Instagram that are $5 with free shipping. Who's gonna say no to a $5 shirt with free shipping? You expect not the best quality, but you know what you're getting. Or it's like the brand of Ferrari. Ferrari has just built the brand up so good of we are the best. We will not lose. Like there's no way we're gonna lose. Or Amazon. We will outbeat anybody's price. It does not matter. You can list any product on our service. We will sell it. You see what I'm saying? So it's kind of like that aspect of you got to do all of this work and test it and fail hundreds of times. I mean, Amazon was not cash flow positive until like a couple of years ago. Same with Tesla. Tesla was burning money until like 2 years ago or 3 years ago when they finally got positive. Same thing with Uber. Uber was burning money until like 4 or 5 years ago. They were literally burning money and had to get investor injections of money until they could finally say, turn on the switch and say, all right, the market's good now. We're going to raise prices just a little bit, and then we're going to be cash flow positive in X years.
Have you always had a passion for these sort of things?
And what, like business that is, or
Yeah, business, entrepreneurial stuff.
yeah, I've always liked business a lot. I think like business is like the coolest thing ever. I consider it to be a game. A lot of people see business as just like all this and that. To me, it's a game. It's like Monopoly. It's like you make a couple pivots right here, a couple small pivots, and you keep moving. And then once you hit some level, it just shoot up. You know what I
Mm,
mean? It's like you don't even have to have the right idea. You just have to put in the effort and the work, and you're granted to make the money or you're granted to win.
interesting. Do, with your time spent in the Wolf Center, what do you think is the most valuable lesson you learned from them?
Ah, man, valuable lesson is a hard one. So I think there's lessons that I've learned directly from like lectures, and then there's lessons I've learned from our projects. So we're very like experiential based learning. So rather than a textbook, we learn something and then we have a project. So last semester, I'll give you for instance, last semester we had something called the IP project. This is one of I would call it three capstone projects. We usually have one a semester. They're changing it up for the people that just got in recently, but at least for my class, we had three capstone projects. So the first one was our first semester, which was innovation, which is like they basically give you a free for all. Like, all right, make an innovative thing in the sports industry. And so my team was you just get paired up with four people, randomized, four people total, that is, like in each team, randomized, and then you literally sit down and be like, all right, guys, what problems do sports teams face or a sport face? And so we made like a heads-up display for a skydiving helmet, which would tell you like it would have like an altimeter, how fast you're traveling, what direction you're going, a GPS nav. Like if like you're not pulling your chute fast enough, it'll start beeping at you like pull your chute, beep, 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 beep. That was pretty cool. But last semester I think was like the most that we had an IP project, which is similar but even more extreme, which is you get a patent, and I don't know if you know, but like a patent covers like basically nothing. Like it's just like, okay, here's this little segment of this product that it covers. So ours was like a drug additive. For instance, you add it into chemotherapy drugs, and through this, instead of the chemotherapy traveling throughout the body and metabolizing throughout the body, it only metabolizes where you isolate it. So we chose like a lung cancer because it's like the second most deadliest cancer. So I think that was like a huge learning point to me because I was like, before that, I was like, I hate tech completely. I think tech is useless because I'm a very tangible kind of guy. I'm like, real estate, I can touch. Tech, Not really. And so it's kind of like a learning curve of they were like, my team was like, all right, we're gonna make you CTO. And I was like, what is wrong with y'all? Like chief technology officer? How would I even know? Like, y'all want me to explain this? They were like, yeah. And I was just like, all right, let's go. And so it's time to hit the books. Hit the books and for a while, and I was just like, I just kept reading up articles, watching YouTube videos, like, okay, this is what a drug additive is. Okay, this is where we can apply it. Okay, here's some ideas we can do for our pitch. Okay, here's some cool stuff we can do. I think that was like the biggest lesson in that was like, with enough time, you become a master at what you want. And it was like, you always believe that like some people are like inherently like born, with understanding tech or born coding or born in business or born to be a doctor or something like that. And then after that, I really realized like no one is born to do anything. You just got to put in the work, and I promise you, you can do it.
Wow.
It was a long tangent to get to that, but yeah.
Do you think, that's very interesting. Um, there's one thing I wanted to say like earlier when we were speaking, which was someone had shared that I think it was like Ferrari or Lamborghini or something, and they didn't have any commercials on TV. This is like a story. Apparently, this is a story. And when someone asked them why, they're like, "Our target audience isn't watching TV" or
Oh, I
something
think it's
like that.
Rolls Royce.
Okay, interesting. But I remember like reading that and I was like, oh, that's fascinating. Do you have any thoughts on that? On how to balance, say, like leisure time versus work? Because something that I remember reading about in another book is people that work way too hard, that by itself is in a way like a flaw, like workaholism, workaholism. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think leisure time is like it really depends on what you're saying, right? I think there's a clear distinction, which is like a leisure time, which is like just getting drunk or whatever and sitting in front of your TV and watching a show. Or leisure time is like spending time with your family or, reading a book or something of that nature. I watch shows all the time. Like, the thing is, I have a super addictive personality. So it's,
Recovering ice cream addict.
yeah, I'm a recovering ice cream. I have super addictive personality. So like, if I start a show, I'm going to finish it. It's that simple. Like it will probably within a week, I will have the full series. Like I think I started watching Suits in the summer, and within like 3 weeks, I had the whole series finished.
Wow.
Every season. Like I literally was just watching, wake up, and I would turn on the next episode and literally have it on my phone while I was walking to make my coffee, while I was doing something else, and just continue to
By the
watch.
way, that is a useful thing at appropriate times, I feel like. Like there's been times in my life like, you know, I really need to just watch a show. It's like one thing like for one Thanksgiving, I just watch a show. It's like, oh, okay, great. I feel like I've recovered or something.
You
I'm back
rejuvenate.
into the
Yeah.
game. Yes, rejuvenated, exactly.
Yeah. So I was like, so for me, it's like I get into those, I feel like 3, 4 times a year. I'll get into that. But I always make sure like if it's not if it's not time to watch a show, I'm not watching a show. Like Suits, I think I was like, oh, I'm busy now. I got like a week in between. I was like, oh, I'm super busy. Like I have a construction project I'm working on. I'm not watching this week. You just can't like
Yeah.
mentally force yourself not to, even though you want to.
There's this
Like a crack addict.
there's definitely much to be said about this, but I remember one time stumbling upon a Soren Kierkegaard book. And I just randomly opened it up to this page and he was writing about leisure time or like just being idle. And he said like oftentimes it's seen as, something like evil or like bad or something like that. Something with like a negative connotation. But then he gave the example of Greek gods and he's like if you like observe the stories of the Greek gods, they're often just at leisure. They're
Yeah.
just chilling. And I just thought it was interesting of him of all people to write that. And I think it just kind of points to that bigger point that I was mentioning before about how um, workaholism. Do you have any thoughts on workaholism or being a workaholic?
So I think it's interchangeable to people. You got to know your limits. I think for me, my limit is like 12 hours. Usually after 12 hours, I'm useless.
Have you ever been a workaholic?
A workaholic?
Yeah, have you ever been? Because like
I've
I always hear that term, and it's like there's moments where I get burnt out, but I don't know if I've ever been a workaholic. But I know workaholics, and I can never understand how they
so
get to
I've
that
been
point.
I've been like burnt out. I've been like a workaholic in periods of time. Now, in the mindset, no. I've always been like, man, this sucks. Like I do not want to be working this much. Like I remember I used to work at IHOP. We'd work from like sometimes we'd work from like in the beginning 7 p.m. to like 6 a.m. And I was just like, this is horrible. This sucks. But like or sometimes like we have projects or stuff like that. Sometimes you have to when it's crunch time, you have to put in all your effort. You got to throw everything at the wall and just keep working. But in like my I think like if I could perfectly like say like what I am, I don't see myself as a workaholic. I just find that like you can't there's a limit to everybody's capabilities or capacity, and everybody's different to it. Like I have a friend who I this dude just sits in front of a computer for like 16, 17 hours a day. I don't know how much work he gets done, but I just know he's always in front of that computer or whatever. So
Yeah.
for me, it's kind of just like, I could probably like 10, 12 hours. It's probably my number. And then if it comes down to crunch time, it's unlimited time. If I got to get something done, I'm gonna get it done.
Well, speaking of that, how do you view deadlines? Deadlines
Uh,
that you have to establish for yourself. Because when somebody else gives you a deadline, at least like in my experience, I feel like I have to live up to it. But if it's like a self-imposed deadline, that is sometimes a little more work. What do you think?
it's extremely hard to do a personalized deadline and stick to it. You know, I would say like sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. And it's just the gravity of the deadline. If you like truly want what you want. For instance, for years I've been telling myself I want to lose weight and it just never happened. This year or last year, 2023, May, I told myself, all right, as soon as I'm done with this semester, because in Wolf, like your semester is really hectic. And then when you look back at it, you're like, bro, I could have done all this work in the 10th of the time. But anyways, so I think I was like, I told myself right after Wolf, give myself a week, and then I'm gonna go on a diet and work out every day in the summer. And I've told myself this multiple times, but this year something triggered it. I was just like, no, I'm gonna do it, and I did. I went through like 67 days straight, no cheating, like every day dieting, working out, every day dieting, working out, every day dieting, working out. So I think like sometimes it's like how much you want it. If you really want it, you're gonna do it. If you
Most
don't really
definitely.
want it, or it's like, you're probably not gonna do it.
I remember, man. I remember seeing you. Like this guy, he's lost weight.
Yeah.
What was that trigger for you? What happened?
It wasn't a trigger really. It's just I always been like bigger than what I wanted to be, and I always like thought I could. I mean, I could lose a little bit, a couple of pounds here and there, but I think it was just like overall, like let's like
Were you
I gotta do
tired
something.
of being tired?
Or actually, I know what triggered it. I was tired of being tired, but I know what triggered it. Do you know who Justin Waller is?
No.
Justin Waller's like this construction guy, hangs around with Andrew Tate or whatever. And I just saw a reel or a TikTok of him, and he was just like, "Would you ever trust a fat construction worker?" And the guy was like, "No." And then I thought about it for a second. And I was like, "Yeah, probably. Like, if there was a fat plumber, would I trust him? Probably not. I would hope he doesn't like sit on like the back of the kitchen cabinet and it collapses or something like that." So I was like, well, I'm in construction. I wonder what people think of me. I was like, it's time to lose weight.
Interesting.
It's time.
Interesting that that thing was the trigger. Wow. Yeah, I also think it's so fascinating how different things motivate different people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what about you, man? I'm curious to hear about you a little more. So you
What
have
would
a
you like
book.
to know?
You have a book.
Yeah, alhamdulillah, I have two. Yes, yes.
So what was the reason to write both of them?
I think I'm just a writer, to be honest with you. I am a writer. Just that's who I am. I write every single day. We're talking about the boring work. I feel like writing is the one thing that has never felt like a duty or boring work. It's just always been a part of my life. I just write. And alhamdulillah, like it's that thing. It's just that thing. And I'm sure you have something too. It's like that's just a part of your personality. Like, I just do this every day. It's just who I am, kind of a thing. So I
Yeah.
guess yeah, in a nutshell, that's what I would say. I just am a writer, and yeah. What's interesting is I specifically remember I was sitting in the Lava Cafe last time we arranged to do this. It was like over a year ago. And
Yeah.
now it has finally happened. I'm glad that we finally did this.
Oh yeah.
We're coming to the last 5 minutes of this. So I usually ask my guests, do you have any closing thoughts? Anything you felt like you wanted to say, we didn't get a chance to? Or something on your mind that you wanted to express?
Yeah. First of all, subscribe, leave a comment, and everybody put W for two Omars in the chat. You know, but I think that we're coming into a very rough time, or we've been in a rough time with like politics and idea politics and labeling politics or this or that. I remind everybody to number one, think for themselves. When you hear a politician talk about something, really think about what they're saying. Don't jump to conclusions. Because what happened in the 2016 election with Trump was just everybody was just like, oh, I hate Trump, I hate Trump, I hate Trump, I hate Trump, this, that, the other. And then a bunch of people switched randomly, like in the last couple of years. So I love Trump.
Yeah,
I went from I hate him to I
yes.
love him. So
Wild how that happened, huh?
don't follow the bandwagon. Like really do your own research and think about what you want in a politician or something like that. We're not going to get the perfect politician for sure in this election. Maybe the next election, possibly we'll get someone better, but it's always questionable on who's going to run. But so number one, think for yourself. Number two, it's have your center core values and defend them and hold them tight, and any other values hold them loose. Have your core values that you're going to hold on to tight, and have your other values you're going to hold on to loose. Because values change and they come and go, but your core values should always stay with you. You know what I mean? So if you're Muslim, be proud of being Muslim. If you're Christian, be proud of being Christian. Doesn't really matter. But don't let someone come and poker face you or patronize you for doing it. Because they're not worth your time and you're not worth theirs at the end of the day. And lastly, do the hard work. Put the effort in now. It's not time to put up your code and watch Netflix. Although you should, you know. Enjoy your life, but at the same time, if you got an idea or a business or anything, just start. It's literally like so much simpler than you think. Just do a test. If you want to start a cookie thing, bake some cookies, post it on Instagram and say, I'm selling a dozen for X dollars. You don't even have to make money on it, but just get yourself out there. And I promise you, people will like what you're going to do. And if they don't, build, measure, modify. Just modify it a little bit. Change up what you got to do. There's so many cool things you can do in business. It's a game. It truly is. I mean, this shirt company that wasn't doing good, and instead of doing more marketing for their shirts, they created a sports league and then made everybody in the sports league buy the shirts from them. That is from the NHL, by the way. That's the hockey league, how it got started. They literally were a shirt business and they couldn't afford, they didn't have enough sales, so they made a sport called the NHL and made all of the players buy their jerseys. Like, there's always something cool to do out there. And the crazier the idea, the better you can do it. I promise. And if anybody wants to reach out to me, about business or anything, free business advice or anything. I am in no way, shape, or form smart in business. So I'm just going to hold that out there. But if you want to, reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm happy to learn about your business or talk to you about any problems you have. Those were my
Wow, that was amazing. I loved that. It was very inspiring. Thank you for sharing that.
yeah.
I had just one closing thought. The part of this conversation, I think something really beautiful about the Muslim tradition that was very liberating for me to learn about was doubts are with the devil. If you have any doubts, it's the devil who's whispering them to you. And so
100%.
that makes you more certain about a belief and your capabilities. So yeah.
100%. Don't let
But
doubt ruin your life.
yes, sir. But Omar, thank you so much for being here, man.
And
I'm
man,
happy that
really
we did
appreciate getting
this.
on the podcast.
Yes, this will help whoever it needs to help. So thanks so much, man.
It's been
I'm glad
fun.
that we have this testament in our time to reality.
And next podcast we'll do in person. You'll have a studio.
Inshallah, yes, sir. Yes,
Inshallah.
sir.
We got to
Well,
speak it
great.
into existence.
Yes, there you go. Inshallah, yeah. Well, hey, thank you
Inshallah.
so
Yeah.
much, man, for being here. I suppose until
Thank
next time, eh?
you.